In the world of high-end audio, there is no shortage of speakers vying for your attention with sleek, futuristic designs and bleeding-edge specs. But every now and then, a product comes along that does something entirely different. It's less concerned with checking spec sheet boxes and more focused on delivering a great listening experience. Well, the Wharfedale Aston is one of those products. A limited edition bookshelf speaker handmade in the UK and capped at just 500 pairs worldwide, the Aston isn't chasing trends. It's not trying to be the loudest, the most affordable, or even the most feature-packed in the conventional sense. Instead, it does something way more interesting. It brings together Wharfedale's storied British heritage, a warming classic aesthetic, and modern acoustic engineering to create a speaker that feels timeless and built for people who actually love music. If you're the kind of listener who values emotional connection over raw specs, or if you've been drawn to Wharfedale's heritage line but are looking for something a little bit smaller and even more refined, the Aston deserves your attention. Now let's take a closer look at why this special edition speaker might be one of the most compelling additions to come out of Wharfedale's lineup in the last few years. It all starts with the vision of Peter Comeau, Wharfedale's longtime director of acoustic design. When the opportunity came to create a signature speaker, he wasn't tied to a product cycle or a sales target. It was about pursuing a personal goal he's had since the 1970s, building a compact speaker with wide bandwidth sound and full range performance. With the Aston, he finally got to build the speaker that he envisioned decades ago. By using bespoke driver materials, advanced cabinet design, and a carefully voiced crossover, Peter achieved something really rare, an elegant, compact speaker that plays like a much larger system. Now that philosophy extends to the physical form as well. At first glance, the Aston looks like another beautiful throwback to another era. The furniture-grade real wood veneer, inset baffle, and traditional cloth grille give it a distinctly vintage feel, echoing Wharfedale's classics like the Denton and Linton. But the closer you look, the more it becomes clear that this is no retro replica. Every inch of the Aston has been executed with modern craftsmanship and precision. The cabinet is constructed from multiple layers of different woods, a technique specifically chosen to scatter resonances and eliminate box coloration. The internal bracing and a bonded mix of high-density particle board and MDF keep things acoustically inert. Even the finish is really smooth to the touch, deeply grained, and hand-matched between speaker pairs, which just reflects a level of attention that's rare in speakers at pretty much any price. Built in the UK by Wharfedale's experienced team, they reflect a deep respect for traditional craftsmanship while incorporating modern engineering. It's a speaker that speaks to the legacy of British hi-fi design in a way that feels both intentional and earned. And the attention to detail doesn't stop at the speakers themselves. The Aston comes bundled with custom designed matching stands that are as thoughtfully engineered as the speakers themselves as well. Made in England from hardened high carbon British steel with tempered glass inserts, these stands are not only aesthetically beautiful, they're actually functionally critical. They also include cable routing and some really nice spikes on the bottom for placing them on carpet. The fact that the stands are included in the purchase here right in the box is a major bonus that you do not always see. Now, despite the old school charm on the outside of these Aston speakers, they are packed with some modern engineering, just like I said. It's a two-way bass reflex design featuring a completely new 6-inch carbon fiber mid-bass driver, something not seen in the previous Wharfedale heritage models. This driver is housed in a rigid cast chassis, and its carbon fiber cone is light, strong, and incredibly fast. Now that combination allows for low distortion and clean, punchy transients without sacrificing that musical warmth. At the center of the cone sits a gold-finished phase plug. This helps ensure smooth and coherent upper mid-range performance, reducing breakup modes and preventing some harshness. It's a subtle touch that plays a big role in the speaker's balanced character, and I also just kind of love the look of it there. The treble is handled by a 1-inch soft dome tweeter featuring a rear chamber damping system and ceramic magnet motor structure. And this isn't just any off-the-shelf tweeter. It's descended from the same design found in Wharfedale's flagship Dovedale model, which costs more than twice as much as these. The damped rear chamber also helps push the resonant frequency of the tweeter well below the crossover point, allowing it to reveal fine detail without any edginess to it. Now for the crossover, Wharfedale used air core inductors and high-spec polypropylene capacitors, then refined the crossover design through extensive listening across multiple genres of music. The goal wasn't just technical accuracy, but also musical coherence here. Now around the back, the Aston features twin rear firing reflex ports that help it dig big, impressively deep for a speaker of this size. Wharfedale lists the bass extension down to 44 Hz at -6 dB, but in our listening room, it did feel like it reached even lower than that. The low end came through with surprising weight and depth, especially on well-recorded tracks, without relying on artificial bass boost or some exaggerated tuning. It sounded really clean and tight and far more substantial than we expected from a compact stand mount speaker of this size. But again, specs only really tell part of the story here. All the design work and component choices wouldn't mean much if the Aston didn't deliver in some real-world listening. That's exactly what we did, is put it to the test. What immediately stood out in our testing was how natural and just how engaging that these Aston speakers sounded. We paired it with the Leak Stereo 230 integrated amplifier, and the synergy between the two was fantastic. Wharfedale recommends amp power between 25 and 100 watts, and at 86 dB sensitivity, it's not the most efficient speaker out there, but the Leak Stereo 230 had no trouble driving it to some room-filling levels with ease. A well-built integrated amp in the 50 to 100 watt range, though, will be a perfect match. But the 230 provided just the right amount of power and control, keeping the Aston's low end tight while allowing the mid-range and top end to stay open and expressive. The pairing did lean pretty warm and musical, making it easy to lose track of time during some of our longer listening sessions. Vocals came through with clarity and presence, and instruments had a tangible sense of that weight and texture to them. And the soundstage width was also really strong, but it was actually the depth that surprised us. We could clearly hear space between the performers and layers of detail often lost on some less refined setups. With rock, blues, and jazz music, the Aston felt right at home. It has that unmistakable Wharfedale voicing that is rich, easy to listen to, and never fatiguing. If you've ever heard some Wharfedale speakers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But what really impressed us was how well it handled some more modern genres too, like hip hop, pop, or even electronic tracks really retained that impact and definition. Bass was full but never overdone, and the highs had enough sparkle to stay interesting without sounding too harsh. Of course, the speaker's environment will matter as well too. We thought that the Aston felt most at home in some small to maybe a little bit more medium-sized rooms, but in larger rooms or setups where deep bass is a priority, adding a fast musical subwoofer like say maybe the Rel T5X or an SVS SP1000 Pro could definitely help extend that low end a bit further. But honestly, in most of our listening sessions, the Aston did hold its own without any help in some smaller rooms. Now, for fans of Wharfedale's Heritage series, the Aston presents a really interesting comparison to the Super Linton, which is around the same price. While both speakers share a vintage-inspired design and musical voicing, the Aston brings its own distinct personality to this lineup. The Super Linton leans toward a fuller, weightier sound, and you can watch our full review of it down below. And it also improves on the original Linton's clarity and resolution, particularly on the top end, while retaining that big room-filling character. The Aston trades that scale for more speed and intimacy. Its soundstage has more depth, its bass is cleaner and better controlled, and it just feels more at home with detailed or dynamic recordings. So if you prefer that grand, wide-open feel with plenty of low-end presence, then yeah, the Super Linton still delivers and might be a better bet. But if you value nuance, cohesion, and a tighter presentation in a smaller footprint, the Aston steps up confidently. Build quality on both speakers are definitely excellent, but the Aston just feels like a step above in finish and execution overall. It's handmade in UK, like I said, and comes with that included glass and steel stands that not only look great, but they also improve the performance. It really struck us as one of the most refined builds that we've seen to date from Wharfedale. Even include white gloves for setup, and they come in really nice packaging and has weighty, beautiful made stands that add to the experience that come with the speakers is just something you don't always see. It feels like you're unboxing something truly special. Even when it's not playing music, these Aston speakers are the kind of speaker that you actually want to display in your room. Now, if you prefer the look with some grills, they come with magnetic grills that attach cleanly with no visible hardware, and even the tweeter here is protected with a discreet metal guard, so you won't have to worry about curious pets or some little hands here. The experience of ownership is intentional from start to finish with these Astons. It feels crafted, not actually mass produced. If you're going back through your favorite records, you're finally building that dedicated 2-channel setup, these Aston speakers deliver something that most modern speakers just can't do. To me, it came across as one of the more emotionally engaging speakers that I've listened to at this price in quite a long time, and our whole team was genuinely impressed. If you're drawn to that as heritage aesthetic but want something more refined and rare, the Aston is worth a listen. Now, if you do have more questions about these Astons or anything from Wharfedale or audio or video related, feel free to reach out to our experts at audioadvice.com or stop by one of our showrooms and we'd be happy to help you out. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss out on any of our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.